Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to Fermentation Friday. And today we're kicking off the first of the Fermentation Friday lives. And I thought to do that, we can sit here and discuss exactly what fermentation is. And that sun is right in my eyeballs. Just give me 2 seconds. There we go. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I can't do anything about that bit, unfortunately, because it is proper in my face and not covered by the blinds. Uh-oh, what's going on? What have I done? Have I done anything? I haven't done it. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Oh, I dropped the blind further, but I can't. Sorry. Sorry, really sorry. Okay, so it should go in the next little while. What I wanted to do with this session was to discuss what fermentation is, and go through the learning bits, the kind of classroom bit more than anything. And after this episode, we'll be doing stuff in the kitchen to do with fermentation. All of that will be done in the kitchen from next week onwards. So, what is fermentation? My gosh, my face. It's like, what do I do? What am I going to do? I can't do anything about this sun. Okay, I can't. Sorry. Okay, so fermentation is a natural process through which organisms like yeast and bacteria convert carbs, like starch and sugars, into alcohol or acids. Okay, the alcohol and acids, they act as a natural preservative in the foods and give fermented foods a distinctive zest and tartness, which for some foods can be a bit of a acquired taste, especially when it comes to a lot of the Asian preservatives, the Asian fermentation. So yeah, some of that can be very much an acquired taste. Things like natto, which is a Japanese fermented soybean, which is quite, it has a string to it, which I'm not sure I want to call it slimy, but it can come across like that. And it is definitely an acquired taste. It's not as something that, you can sit there and go, oh, this is really good. It's kind of, unless you've grown up with that kind of thing. So, for many people, it can be a bit of a brave step to move into trying different types of fermented foods. There we go. Let's try that. Is it going to work better for now until it moves? Oh my goodness. Okay. So, fermentation also promotes growth of bacteria, and they're usually good bacteria, the kind of bacteria that are really good for our gut. Okay, so, and these are known as probiotics. And probiotics have been shown to improve immune function as well as digestive and heart health. So, fermented foods are actually really, really good for you. And to be honest, when I was a kid, I lived on them. I used to gravitate towards the pickles and preserves and the fermented foods and things like that. And as an adult, I seem to have forgotten about those until fairly recently. Well, except in my 20s when the fermented food tended to come in a bottle. But we don't need to go into that. Although it is something that we probably will touch on, later next year, when the fruit and stuff is out. Okay, so yeah, people aren't sure whether they've had fermented foods before, but I can absolutely guarantee you that there are at least 3, possibly 4 that you've heard of and have either used or use on a daily basis. And you're not really sure, you don't really think of them that way. So things like yogurt, cheese, Tabasco sauce, which is that lovely little bottle. Most houses seem to have a bottle of Tabasco in them. And sauerkraut. They're 4 of the most popular fermented foods that we know of at this point, or most people have heard about. There's plenty of others, and that's all a good thing, and we're going to go into those. So fermented foods, are they better than the raw version of their original self? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because they have added nutrition to them through the probiotics that grow within them during the fermentation process. So probiotics produced during fermentation can help restore the balance of friendly bacteria in your gut and alleviate some digestive problems. So if you are on courses of antibiotics, for example, some antibiotics, in fact, a lot of them, or if you're on them for an extended period of time, can cause digestive issues that can make us incredibly uncomfortable and have to make runs to the bathroom without very much notice. So yeah, they can have explosive effect. And eating fermented foods at a time like that, or while you're taking these medications, can actually help your gut to alleviate that issue and stop it from happening. Replacing the good bacteria that was there, because the antibiotics actually work to destroy all bacteria in your system. So not just the bad stuff, but the good stuff as well. So you want to actually pop that back in as fast as you can. And the quickest way to do that is by eating food or fermented foods. Okay. They can also, there have been some studies that have said that it actually helps a lot with things like IBS and Crohn's and other digestive disorders. So, but check first, because nobody wants to get sick, right? Okay, so one 6-week study of 274 adults with IBS found that consuming 4.4 ounces or 125 grams of yogurt-like fermented milk daily improved their IBS symptoms, okay, including bloating and stool frequency. What's more, fermented foods may also lessen the severity of diarrhea, bloating, gas, and constipation. So, it's because they work with your body, and that is a really, really good thing. And food is medicine, and that is something that I am very, very strong on. So yeah, that's why I want to do this segment on a Friday. For those reasons, adding fermented foods to your diet may be useful if you regularly experience gut issues. Okay, so there we go. That's a thing. I'm reading what I've already written. By the way, I'm just going with it. Okay, so I'm reading off my notes. It also works to boost your immune system, and at times like we have at the moment, that there's nothing better than having a really good immune system. Now, the bacteria that live in your gut have a significant impact on your immune system due to their high probiotic content. Fermented foods can give your immune system a boost and reduce your risk of infections like the common cold. Consuming probiotic-rich foods may also help you recover faster when you're sick. Additionally, many fermented foods are rich in vitamin C, iron, and zinc, all of which are proven to contribute to a stronger immune system. And zinc in particular is a really good one for your hair and nails. So if you're finding issues with your hair and nails, like they're snapping, or your nails might be cracking all the time and splitting and stuff like that, zinc is a really good thing for that. Everyone says calcium. No, if you have too much calcium, it can actually cause a lot of issues. Trust me. Some of my issues from my shoulders and why I can't move my arm higher than that is because I had too much calcium, and I ended up with calcium deposits in my shoulders, which were left for so long that they actually twisted my muscles and tendons to a point where they don't want to work as they should. So yeah, I can move them above my head in certain directions, but not in the ones that count. So yeah, too much calcium, but zinc is the thing that you really, really want. Okay, so it also makes food easier to digest. Okay, I think that sun's gone now. I might be able to open the blind back up, or I'll just turn the light on. Let's do that. I'll turn the light on. Okay. Oof. There we go. Here we are. So fermentation helps break down nutrients in food, making them easier to digest their unfermented counterparts. So if you're having a mix of fermented and non-fermented food, the fermented food will actually help to break down the non-fermented food, and that's always a good thing. For example, lactose, the natural sugar in milk, is broken down during fermentation into simple sugars, glucose and galactose. As a result, those with lactose intolerance are generally fine eating fermented dairy like kefir and yogurt. Not all of them. I know this. I'm aware of this. Not all of them, this is why I only have real milk when I have coffee, and I only have 2 cups of coffee a day because I can't drink any more milk than that or any more dairy. And yeah, because otherwise it's not pleasant. Plus fermentation helps break down and destroy anti-nutrients, such as phytates and lectins, which are compounds found in seeds, nuts, grains, and legumes that interfere with the nutrition absorption. Therefore, consuming fermented beans or legumes such as tempeh increase the absorption of beneficial nutrients, making them more nutritious than unfermented alternatives. This is one of the reasons that I actually soak any beans that I'm going to be cooking for 24 to 48 hours, sometimes up to 3 days, because they start a fermentation process of their own in the water that they're just left in to soak. I don't ever use canned beans very much anymore unless I absolutely feel it's necessary. I do prefer to get dried beans and leave them for 3 days soaking in water so that they can have that slight fermentation starting up in the process before they're actually cooked. Okay, so other potential benefits of fermented foods are, studies have shown that fermented foods may also promote mental health. A few studies have linked the probiotic strains Lactobacillus helicticus. Let's try saying that on a Monday morning. And Bifidobacterium longum to a reduction in symptoms of anxiety and depression. Both probiotics are found in fermented foods. Also helps with weight loss. While more research is needed, some studies have found links between certain probiotic strains, including Lactobacillus rhamnosus and Lactobacillus gasseri, and weight loss and decreased belly fat. Can't be a bad thing, can it? Okay, so heart health. Fermented foods have also been associated with a lower risk of heart disease. Probiotics may also modestly reduce blood pressure and help lower total and bad LDL cholesterol, which is never a bad thing. Okay. So, in conclusion to that, fermented foods have been associated with several positive health effects, including improved digestive health, stronger immunity, and increased availability of beneficial nutrients. And you can't say no to that. You can't. Okay, so safety and side effects. All right. This is important. Listening ears, kids. Fermented foods are considered safe for most people. However, some individuals may experience side effects. Due to the high probiotic content of fermented foods, the most common side effect is initial and temporary increase in gas and bloating. Now, when I first made my sauerkraut, I was so excited by it that I had a whole bowl full of just the sauerkraut. Let's just say Tanny was incredibly glad that he was at work and the worst was over before he got home. Because honestly, I can't even tell you guys, seriously. It was awful. I thought I was going to be so ill. But after that, when I was having like little bits every day rather than just a huge amount, I've actually been fine ever since. Not had a problem. These symptoms may be worse after consuming fiber-rich fermented foods such as kimchi and sauerkraut. Yes! It's also important to note that not all fermented foods are created equal, and they really, really aren't. Pardon me. Some products may contain high levels of added sugar, salt, and fat, so it's important to read nutrition labels to make sure you're making a healthy choice, which is why we're setting this up on a Friday, so that after today's session, we will be moving into the kitchen and I will be showing you how to make your own fermented foods. Everything. We're going to go through everything a little bit every week. In fermenting at home, make sure you follow recipes closely for safety purposes. Incorrect temperatures, fermentation times, or unsterile equipment can cause the food to spoil, making it unsafe to eat. This is really important. Okay. Right. Common fermented foods. We had a little bit of a chat earlier of the first 4 of these. Okay. Also, I'm actually using Bertha. I'm just letting you know now, because if I suddenly disappear in mid-sentence, she's carved it. Okay. I'm really hoping she's not. She's quite noisy and running in the background. And I'm really hoping she's going to hold out. So, some of the most common fermented foods are kefir, which is a fermented dairy drink. So a bit like a drinkable yogurt or milk. Sauerkraut, tempeh, natto, which I discussed with you, that can be a bit of an acquired taste. They've used it a bit on Crunch Bros. I don't know if you guys have watched Crunch Bros, but it's father and son that do like they have dinner together and they eat all sorts of things. But natto has been brought up a few times. Cheese, kombucha, miso, kimchi, salami, yogurt, sourdough bread, beer, wine, and olives. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, we will be going through making our own lots and lots of different things over the next coming months as we go. The bottom line, okay, fermentation is the breakdown of carbs like starch and sugars by bacteria and yeast, and an ancient technique of preserving food. Common fermented foods include kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, tempeh, kombucha, and yogurt. These foods may reduce heart disease and add digestion, immunity, and weight loss. Not to mention, fermented foods add tang and zest to your meals and are an excellent addition to a healthy diet. So there you go. Right, so that's the bottom line when it comes down to fermented food and what it is. Okay, it's basically a process where there are usually very, very few ingredients when it comes down to fermenting anything. Okay, when you come down to some fermenting sauerkraut, there are 2 ingredients. There is the cabbage and there is the salt. Okay, we won't be making that one for a little while because I have quite a few very, very big jars of it. And although I've already gone through maybe a quarter of it, it's still going to take me a little while to get through the rest of it. So until I'm at halfway, I'm not going to be, making any more yet. But next week, what I thought I might do is, what I'm going to do this week is not today, but during the week, I'm going to release a video on making fermented chili sauce. So because that's one that's got to take several days, like up to 2 weeks to properly ferment. I will probably just reveal it at the end. But yeah, so that one's going to be made into a video, but we're going to start making things as of next week live so that you guys can work along and see what's going on. And if you're actually interested in making things as I go with me, so that we ferment together, I can release a list of the things that we're going to be using the next week, this week, so that you can know exactly what you need. So for me, next week, we're going to be doing fermented nut cheeses. Okay, so this is something that I discovered a few weeks back as an alternative to a cream cheese. I started making a fermented cashew nut cheese, and can I just tell you, it is the best thing since sliced bread. Okay, it is amazing. And so we're going to be making some of that, but I'm also going to be experimenting and doing the same thing with walnuts, hazelnuts, and Brazils, and sunflower seeds. So we're going to try and make 5 different ones next week. It's up to you. If you guys want to join me, you don't have to have all 5 of those nuts. Just pick one that you want, or one that you already have in the cupboard, and have that. The one thing I will say though is if you have any sauerkraut in the house, that would be very, very useful, because we need some of the juice to create the fermentation for the nut cheese. It's okay. And that's one of the most important things. So, because it actually kicks off the whole fermentation process. And that is why I started making my own sauerkraut, so that I could actually make as much of this fermented cheese as I could possibly think I wanted to ever eat again, as long as I lived. So I could just have a complete rolling thing of it. So I thought that would be a really cool idea. And of course I do. I now have enough sauerkraut juice. See, the thing is as well, all right, you think about it, okay, there are people out there that are drinking dill pickle juice, and they're doing that for health, because dill pickles technically are a ferment, and the juice is a fermented juice, and the juice has all the probiotics in it, so why tip it down the sink? Some of the things that we don't even realize that we really, really love are actually fermented foods, and people are like, oh no, don't like that. But actually, if you look in their cupboards, you can go, well, that's fermented. That's fermented. That's fermented. Oh, so it's not. We don't always think about what we might actually have in our cupboards as far as fermented foods and stuff like that go. So yeah, just have a think beforehand. But if you do have any questions about anything, please do chuck them in the chat, because I would be more than happy to answer any. Yeah, so I need to kind of make a list of what we're going to be doing. Yeah, the fermented hot sauce is the one that I will be doing a video for, because like I said, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to complete, and I actually need to get a kick on with that one, because otherwise my peppers are going to be mush and they're going to be yucky, and won't be able to use them. So I want to do that. So yeah, but we can't do that one today, unfortunately, because it has to go to the shop and get some more salt, because it's one of the things that I just don't have. Now, when it comes to salt, when you're doing things like fermentation, it's really, 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 really important to not have table salt. You don't want iodized salt for this. You want a plain sea salt or rock salt, preferably a sea salt, and use that rather than table salt. Don't let anyone else touch it. Put it under lock and key if you have to, under your mattress. I don't care where you put it. Okay, don't let anyone use it if you're going to put it aside for using fermenting things. It can be a little bit expensive. It's not that expensive. Sea salt is what is known in America as kosher salt. So as long as you're using something like kosher salt, you're good. But not anything that's iodized or anything that's got fillers like table salt or, drying ingredients and stuff like that. It's just don't. We don't want to do that. But next week we are definitely going to be getting on to making the fermented cheeses. Now I know there's a few people out there who would be very interested in this. In particular, I just want to double check the ingredient list. Because I'm pretty sure it's very basic. Oh, grief. Here we go. Oh, any time today, just click. I don't want to make her do too much. She might cry. I will cry if she starts crying. Okay. All right. So the ingredients for next week's are hope you got paper and pen. You need to have some nuts of some description. Now, the original recipe calls for a cup of cashews. Okay, I made 2 cups of it. All right. But like I said, I'm also going to be using walnuts, hazelnuts, Brazils, and sunflower seeds. And I'm going to test them all and see how they come out. Okay, because cashews are really expensive. Let's be honest. Okay, and at 27 quid a kilo, we want to see if we can find something that's a little bit cheaper. Now, I tend to buy broken cashews or broken Brazils or broken walnuts or walnut pieces rather than halves or whole nuts. At the end of the day, there's not a lot that I use a whole nut for. So why am I going to spend an extra 4 to 7 pounds a kilo on something because it's whole than just buy the broken bags of stuff? So yeah, I would rather do that. Now, the other option, so you want to have your nuts of choice, but at least have 1 to 2 cups of them. Okay. What you're also going to need is a quarter of a cup of fermentation liquid. So if you have a jar of sauerkraut or dill pickles, if you've got some kombucha, which I know some of you actually make, if you've got any kimchi liquid, okay. The other option is having a probiotic only capsule and quarter of a cup of water. That's a really expensive and silly way to go, and I wouldn't suggest doing that. It's not worth it. And if you've already got like a jar of sauerkraut at the back, hey, how are you doing, Rebecca? It's so good to see you. Welcome. That's all right, honey. It's all good. No problem at all. I mean, this is just the boring. This is kind of like the sit down and learn about the basics of fermentation and stuff episode, because like the intro episode. And then from next week, I'm going to be in the kitchen. Sometimes maybe in the garden, depending on the weather and just what I'm making. But I'm moving in towards doing a lot more fermented foods and pickled foods and stuff like that, for health reasons. And I thought, well, let's all do it together, and we can do it side by side. So I'm just running through a few ingredients for what I'm going to be doing next week, which is fermented nut cheeses, because it's a really easy one. It's a very easy one, and I just thought, it'd be a really cool one to kick off with, because it's one that's very quick to do. I love to ferment, so I'm sure I haven't missed anything, but I still like to be there for my YouTube friends. Oh, honey, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Yeah. And you know what? You were actually the one that kicked me in the bum to move and get the things done. I'm not going to lie. I'd been talking about it for 6 months, that I was going to start doing my own ferments and stuff like that, and I never really got around to it. And then I saw you doing it, and I was like, I got to start doing this again, because I was literally sitting there slathering. It's got to happen. I've got to do this. So yeah, I used to do a lot. I used to do a lot of my own fermentation and stuff like that, but we had a lot more room then. Are you right? Do you mind? What? Sorry, the cat is having a moment. Hey, Karen, how you doing, darling? It's fine. It's all good, sweetheart. Welcome in. The cat's just looking for attention very quickly. If I'm not talking to her for more than an hour, she'll sit there and cough at me until I actually turn around and ask her if she's okay, and then she'll stop. I'm not even kidding. That it's a my cat thing. What? Did you want to come and say hello? Or are you just going to sit there and just go, meh? You going to come and say hello? Yes? No? Maybe? No? Okay. There we go. Hey, Lisa. How are you doing? That's okay, darling. Welcome in. You hurt your back getting the citrus trees indoors? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Be careful with yourself. Yeah, she's a lot better than she was when Tanny first started working. When Tanny first started working, she was sitting here yowling all day until he walked in the door. I'm not even kidding, for the first week. I'm doing really well, darling. Doing really, really well. But that's her spot. And she, at about 4:00, she goes and sits on there, and she waits for Tanny to walk through the door. So she could be sat there for 4 hours waiting for him. But she will not move from that spot. Oh, hello. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. Hello. Are you going to say hello? Say hello. Hello, darling. You going to say hello? Say hello. Editing, don't even ask how long my last video took me. It's way too long, so it's your latest video was awesome, darling. I loved it. I really did. I sat here with my coffee and I was just like, this is so awesome. Ew. If you're going to snot on me, I'm going to kick you down. Right. Have you had enough? Look, have you said hello? Have you said hello? Oh. Sorry, fusses. This is not very fermenty, is it? Yeah. Also, when you're about to start doing anything like this in the kitchen, or, fermenting or anything like that, make sure the cat's not in there. She gets far too interested. She sticks her head in it. I counted on you to watch a cooking video no matter how long, and I'm always open for recommendations too. I do. I watched one the other day that a friend of mine had done that was an hour and a half long. I was sitting here watching it going, wow. So like I said, this episode today, this first one, this is just in here. From next week, we're going to be moving into the kitchen or wherever I'm going to be making stuff. But always in the episode beforehand, I'm going to give you the ingredients of what we're going to be making next week, so that when you guys, if you guys want to do it with me, I can tell you what you need to have for that next week's thing. So we can do it together, like a bit of a cook along kind of thing, or a ferment along. So yeah, like I said, what I'm going to do is the fermented nut cheeses next week. Now, I don't care what nuts you use. I really, really don't. I'm doing my experiment. I've already made the cashew one and I loved it. In fact, I just couldn't put it down for a week. That's all pretty much I ate for a week. With a bunch of raw vegetables. I'm not even kidding. That and raw vegetables was all I had for a week because it was amazing. So if you want to use cashews, use cashews. If you want to use Brazils, use Brazils. If you want to, I'm going to be doing Brazils, walnuts, hazelnuts, and sunflower seeds and the cashews because I want to test out the other nuts to see just how they will turn out as a fermented cheese, because sunflower seeds are incredibly cheap. Let's be honest, really cheap. Walnuts are a lot cheaper than hazelnuts, but hazelnuts are fairly cheap as well, but they're a lot cheaper than Brazils and cashew nuts. But Brazils and cashew nuts are very milky nuts. Like if I was living in Oz and I still had my macadamia tree, I'd be saying macadamia nuts. But that's only because I'd be fancy and have my own macadamia nuts off my own tree. But I'm not expecting anyone to go and buy macadamia nuts just to make a fermented cheese with, because that would be ridiculous and out of pocket. But if you have lots of money to spend on nuts like that, please be my guest. So as long as you've got like 2 cups of nuts, whatever nuts you want, I would suggest very, very carefully to keep them separated. All right. Don't try mixing and matching at this point. Just keep them separated. And you need to have 1/4 cup of fermentation liquid. So if that's 1/4 cup of sauerkraut juice or whatever ferment you might have in the house, I wouldn't say 1/4 cup of Tabasco. That would just be mean. But yeah, you can use that. You can use kimchi liquid, fermentation brine, whatever you've got. If you've got some dill pickle juice, as long as you've got 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup, maybe, if we could, that would be really cool. And the only other thing is water at that point. But what I will say is this: 24 hours, 2 days to 24 hours. So either on Wednesday or on Thursday, I want you to put your nuts in a bowl and cover them with water, and make sure they've got about that much water over the top of them, because they will take it up and swell. But if a lot of people say, oh, you only need to do it for 20 minutes with some boiling water. You can do it that way. But if you actually start it 2 days earlier, I found I got a lot better result than if I did it overnight or a couple of hours earlier, because the nuts have started to ferment in the water. You've already started that fermentation process. So if you start them on the Wednesday, and then for Friday afternoon, we'll be ready to go and we'll have our nuts, which will be awesome. So yeah, that's our goal for next week, is we're going to be doing the cheeses. But as I said, with the fermented hot sauce, I'm going to make a video of that because it's going to take nearly a month to complete. And I'd like, if possible, to have things that we can do on a Friday that we can do in one sitting. And yes, we may have to wait a few days for them to be ready, but they're not going to take months and months. Do you know what I mean? Well, some of them might. When we get to elderflowers, it might take a little while, but we'll just see how we go. So let me know, guys, what your favorite fermented whatever is. And if you have any really cool recipes that you'd like to share with the rest of us, let me know, because I could even set up StreamYard so that you guys can get on and help me with an episode at some point if you have a really cool ferment recipe that you would like to share, because I think that would be really, really cool as well, actually. Yeah, just a thought. So, like I said, I've actually started doing my own fermenting. I will just at this point, I'm going to go and get one of my big jars. Back in a sec. Ready. Kitten, no. Back up. I can't get through the door if you're there. Sorry, love. Daddy's not home from work yet. Okay. So, out of the big bucket of sauerkraut I did, was 5. I used 5 cabbages. I've ended up with 3 of these and a 2-litre ice cream container, which I've nearly gone through, and a 2-pound jar. I'm sitting these in the porch because I don't know if you can see the condensation on there, but it's pretty cold out there, which is why we put all our cold dry store stuff, and kind of use the porch like a root cellar in winter because it's easier that way. But yeah, so I mean, let's have a look. I don't know. Can you see the bubbles? Can you see the bubbles? If I knocked them out, I've probably knocked them out. Oh no. Oh no, they're all on my side. Look out. Hang on. But it continues to do it even when it's cold. So that's why the lids aren't on properly. But that's some really good squishy right there. Okay. But I've already gone through. Yeah, they do. Okay, so yeah, there we have it. This was my first attempt at sauerkraut. I've never made actual sauerkraut before, and I have to, even though I am a sauerkraut addict, and I'm not gonna lie there, because Tanny swears at me a lot because I'm always sneaking pickles into the shopping trolley. That's the one. That's the word I was looking for. Shopping trolley. Okay, so yeah, he's always swearing at me for it because I'm always sticking pickles in there, and I'm always sticking, things that he doesn't eat, because there's only so much of the trolley you can take up with pork pies and black pudding. So So when I said to him I'd found a fermentation bucket at Wilko's for £12.50, he's like, I'll pick it up this afternoon, shall I? It's like, what? He didn't even complain. Because what I wanted and what I've been trying to get him to get me are these really big kimchi jars. The really nice ones, or the big sauerkraut jars, the glass ones and the ceramic ones, with the bowl top, with the little water moat at the top. But yeah, he won't get those yet. Well, apart from the fact we got nowhere to keep them. These jars I got from Facebook Marketplace. About this time of year, you find quite a few people sort of giving their jars away, or selling them off. Last year I bought half a dozen of these, and from a little old lady who was around the corner, and this year she sold the other half of them. So I got all of her jars, and she knows that they've gone to a really good place. So she's quite chuffed with that. And she chucked in a dozen 2-pound jars as well, because it was me. Yes. Yes, we won't say what Tanny said. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, what are you guys interested in when it comes to fermenting? And yeah, let me know. Is there something that you would like to try fermenting that you haven't before? Because that would be really cool to know about too. And I'll just sit here and drink my water like a good girl. Because I have beetroot at the back, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe I could ferment some beetroot at some point, because I'm going to have to pull up the first bed, I think, because it had mystery potatoes in it, or volunteer potatoes, and the plants have disappeared, so I don't want them rotting underneath the beetroot, because that could be not fun. They died after the snow, I think. The snow took them out. So if I take out the first lot of beetroot and give those a go at fermenting those, that could be a thing that we do maybe the week after next. What do you reckon? Because I'm making notes too as I go. So you have some beetroot left to ferment as well? Awesome. That would be cool. So if I do that, that would be on the... That'd be Christmas Eve. Are we guys up for a live on Christmas Eve? Fermenting? Or is it better to skip a week and do it the week after? What is the week after? It's New Year's Eve. Oh my God. Wow, this was well thought out, wasn't it? Yeah, no, I don't think I could either. So what I might do, right, is if we do the two, like, oh God, where's the thing done? So if we do you know what? Okay, the nut cheeses don't take that long, okay? They take about 10 minutes, and then you set them aside for 3 days, and they're ready to go, right? Okay, so they take very... You're Christian household, and in Germany that means Christmas Eve. That's cool. No problem, darling. I'm not, but so I have mine on the Tuesday, which is the solstice. But Tanny likes having Christmas, so we do both. And Christmas Eve, I tend to be neck deep in turkey, which is all kind of fun, you know, but it's all fun and games. It's all cool. So, yeah, what if, okay, so if next week I combine the two and we do the nut cheese and then we do the beetroot, because the beetroot's going to have to be cooked first, isn't it? Does it have to be cooked first, or is it just fermented? Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, please, no. Oh, phew. Told you I'm using Bertha. It's a bit scary. If I look at anything, it's scary. Fermented beetroot. Going to my go-to. 5 different pickle-flavored fermented beetroots. Ooh, that could be fun. Yeah, I think you did do them raw. I'm just double-checking the recipe that I've got. I'm pretty sure it's raw as well. Yeah, it's just they're, of course they're raw. Oh, okay. Yep, that's easy enough. So we've got the ingredients for the nut cheeses. What we're going to do for the beetroots is we're going to need the beetroot, some non-iodized salt, so sea salt, whatever salt you're going to use to do the so just plain salt. So if it's sea salt or kosher salt or whatever you want to call it, and some cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar. And that's all we need, I believe. And any flavorings that you might want to use. So, you know, if you want to use chili in yours, make sure you've got some chili. If you want to use some, I don't know, thyme or rosemary or stuff like that, go ye ahead. Seems like a good idea to me. But if we combine the two, then we'll get better hangout time, I think. Raw and unpeeled because I ferment without using a starter, so I need the bacteria on the skin. Yes. Well, see, mine are all really baby ones. They're not huge beetroot. They're only little ones. So I'll probably just top and tail them, to be honest, and just stick them in the jar once they're clean, obviously. Oh. They need to be clean because, you know, I don't think dirt's part of the fermentation process, but yeah. But yeah, so if we do the nut cheeses and beetroot, I think that'd be a good start, don't you? And then by the time we come back after Christmas, it'll be the 7th of January then, wouldn't it? Oh, will you stop doing that? Yeah, the 7th of January. And to be honest, we'll all be able to talk about what we found happened with our ferments. So, you know, I would imagine that the beetroot will be well and truly ready by then, and that we would have definitely tried the cheeses. So we can sit down and go, well, that worked, or well, that didn't work, and what is this that's on this, and why does that look so funky? And, you know, I think that would be maybe a really good idea. What do you guys reckon? Next week. And the 7th of January. January's. Okay. what I want to do in January, maybe, if you guys are up for it, I was thinking of having a go at cider vinegar, because generally in January we've tended to have overbought things like apples. Or how about this? We do a sourdough starter. What do you reckon? Should we do a sourdough starter? When we come back? Because that'll give me time to organize it. Yeah, well, my sourdough starter, I have to say, I do with apples or pears, depending on what we have. And if I'm going to be doing apple cider vinegar, which I very much could be, because like over Christmas, we always buy far too much fruit. And by January, the last thing that either of us want to do is eat it. So rather than have it go off, I was thinking that maybe I could start off some cider vinegar, but it would also give me the opportunity to start the starter that I do for my sourdough starter. I think I actually did a video on it about this time last year. Yeah, and I kind of failed at doing the sourdough bread. It frustrated me. I do a really good sourdough focaccia style bread. I do a really, really good one of those, and it's amazing. And I also do a really nice walnut bread as well. And that one's pretty cool. But for some reason, I haven't yet been able to master doing just a plain, ordinary, normal sourdough. Like just an everyday sourdough, which I'm determined. I am determined to get it right. Like I've made things like crumpets, I've made muffins, I've made cookies, I've made cakes, I've made everything you can think of with sourdough without it being an issue, except for the goddamn bread. So yeah, I think sourdough starter would be a good one. But like I said, I have got a video on it, but we can start it off together if you want. And I might do the cider vinegar on that one as well. So yeah, I mean, all you really need for the sourdough starter is water and apple or pear, depending on what you've got. I will probably have apples rather than pears. And then I start that a week before I'm going to make my flour starter part. I ferment that first. And then get that into, and then I make my actual flour starter with the juice from the fermented apple or pear. So yeah, that's kind of how I do mine, and it does lend itself to a very yummy sourdough starter that has this slight background sweet without it being overly sweet, but it's a little bit of something that you're just sort of sitting there and going, oh, what's that? Oh, that's different. But it's also a very traditional method that would have been used back in the day, and that was used back in the day. I believe it's a French sourdough starter type thing. So yeah, and I know that they used to use it down in down in the West Country as well. Our starters, both rye and wheat, are very old and stable, so I'm willing to try something different. They will still be here if I fail with yours. Awesome. That's so cool. I'm actually going to be using buckwheat for mine. I don't want to use a wheat one. I'm going to be starting to use things. I'm going to make a buckwheat flour. I might use rye. I don't know if I can get my hands on some over the next couple of weeks. I might get some. But I'm going to try and steer away from the flour for a bit. But that's just my personal choice. I mean, if you guys feel the need to have wheat, then you have wheat. You have whatever you want. I don't care. I don't have to eat it. You gotta eat it. So yeah. Yeah, so I think we'll do that on the 7th of January. And then at that point, we can look at what we want to do over the next few months, over the next year. Also, by the 7th of January, I might know if I'm working or not, and I might have to change these lives. Might have to change the day or the time or something. So, yeah. Do have buckwheat flour as well, and that combined with the apple starter definitely sounds French. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I'm very much for I have been probably 80 to... No worries, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here, darling. Take it easy. Love you long time. Mwah. How are you still awake? Guys, honestly, Lisa over at Yogi Hollow Farm is really funny. And she has the most adorable piggies in the world. She really, really does. So please do go and give her a follow if you can, because honestly, and she's just done this most amazing this video where it was like a challenge video to do the monkey dance or something. And I've been sitting here in stitches. Every morning I start with that video. So if your video keeps going up, one a day, hun, it's me in the morning. I'm stalking that video because it gives me a warm happy. It makes me giggle first thing in the morning. You're welcome. The Christmas Carol video. Oh my God. Oh, so cool. Okay, darling, you go get some sleep. Or do your stuff. I'm not sure what time it is over there, but just have fun. Okay, so all right, so for the next two of these, so next week we're going to do the nut cheeses and the beetroot. Ta 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 ta. And 7th of January we're going to do a sourdough starter and cider vinegar. Now, if you want, I will show the whole process from go to woe, and I will make a bit of an apple starter to start with, and I will also go through the process of making the apple starter on the day as well. So because that one obviously won't be ready to use then, and then I can use that one for going through the starter process. And then I'll just have double. Sounds like a plan. Yeah. Yes. I can do it that way. That sounds like a plan to me, actually. We do it that way. And then, you know, we don't have to wait another week to do it. But if you guys want to do that, I do have a sourdough starter video. Let me just find that for you. Hold, please. God, where is that? All right. Right, here we go. Stop. Okay. Now this is part one. This is part one of the sourdough starter. So with the apple bit. Like I said, I'm quite happy go through it and we do it all together. And then this is part two. I did make rather a lot of starter, I have to admit. And then I didn't get very well. I wasn't very well after that, so I had to be a little bit careful. I kind of lost all my starter. I think that's the worst part for me, is that I want to do stuff and I want to make stuff, and then I have weeks where a lot of what I do, especially when it comes down to fermenting and stuff like that, is very much a massive risk because I don't know if I'm going to be well enough to finish it. And when you get sourdough to a point, you have to pay attention to it and do something with it. And then it's like, crap. I can't do that. So I remember crying at one point during that week where that box of sourdough starter went off. And I remember crying. And Tanny was like, you can't help it. There's nothing you can do about it, love, because you can't stand up to do it and you can't do what you were going to do with it. He said, at the end of the day, I'd rather have you okay and start the process again. He said, because I know you love watching the bubbles. He says, you can sit there all day and watch bubbles, and I can. I'm going to let you into a little secret here, okay? This is a very, very little secret. Well, it's a huge secret, and I'm going to let you into it. On my really, 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 really bad days, the one thing I do that makes me smile is I think bubbles. I can't even say the word bubbles without smiling. I have a box, which is a giant bulk washing powder box that I got from my mum in Australia, that just so happens to be filled with every kind of bubble machine or bubble wand or bubbles or types of bubbles that I could possibly jam in it all at once. I've got a bottle like that of bubble mixture, and there's all sorts of different ones and stuff. And on my really bad days, Tanny will bring that inside for me, because normally I am banished to outside with my bubbles, but he will bring them inside for me, and I'll be allowed a little bottle and a little wand so that I can just play with my bubbles. So, I mean, it seems quite apt that I've become a little bit obsessed with fermenting at this point and want to learn more about it and want to do more things with it because, I'm sitting here watching the jar and it's just got bubbles floating to the top. No, you're not. I've actually, I've ordered some weights, the little weights that you just put in the top. But they haven't arrived yet. So I keep checking the top every morning to make sure it's not doing anything untoward. But to be fair, the liquid's right at the top. And I don't think it's going to, do anything bad or go off. And it seems quite happy all there, bubbling away, all on its own. I'm going to put it away, though, because I might woof it off the desk. So, yeah. It's not 4 o'clock yet. Why do you think you have to sit there all of a sudden? Okay, I'll be back in a minute, guys. Ooh. It's heavy. No, I'm not getting anything for you. Don't get under my feet, because if I drop this, I'm going to be very cross with you, madam. What? Okay. Do you want your treats? Is that what it is? Excuse me. Have to treat the children. Make sure they behave. Yeah. What's this? Come on. Go find it. She only gets a couple. She gets no more than 10 because otherwise they make her throw up. So, yeah, we can do them without that. Thank you. So, yeah. What, love? So, I do want to try and keep this fairly seasonal. And as the seasons come in and we start getting certain types of produce come in, I'll be looking at doing certain different types of ferments at that time. Well, I'm sorry. So yeah, we'll be doing certain types of ferments at the time that stuff's coming in because it seems right and proper, really, doesn't it? Let's be fair. It's the right time of the year to do it. But there's certain things that we can do over winter, which are just going to make our lives a little bit nicer and a little bit cozier and a little bit, all of the things. So I want to see how we go with it. That would be really awesome. Like I said, by the 7th of January, I should know whether I have a job or not as well. So, maybe having this as it is at the moment is a really good idea because then we can figure out what we're doing from there and, whether I have to change the day or change the time or something like that so that we can fit in with what I'm then doing. Be a good thing. What's that? Look, it's there. Look, Angel. Look, what's this? So that's where we're at the moment. That's the basics on fermentation and why we do it and what, all of the things, all of the cool things. Realizing myself that we could actually make cheese, dairy cheese, as well as the nut cheese. I want to make the nut cheese because I want to make them myself anyway. And next week is a really good time for me to do that because it's just before Christmas and then I'll have lots for Christmas. So I'll just be a very happy pixie for that. And it just means one less thing to make, to be fair. But yeah, we will give some cheese making a go. It is something that I do want to learn, or relearn, okay? Because I did used to make cheese. A lot of the cheeses that I used to make, they were very soft cheeses, or I used to make camemberts or brie type of round, rind-based soft cheeses. I've made ones that are very similar to like a quark, which is also, again, another soft cheese, but it's wrapped in nettles. I never really put the connection of them being fermented foods before. So maybe we can have a crack at that maybe in the spring. Every now and again, have a bit of a cheesy making session and see how we go. Because I'm aware that some people might think, oh, but we haven't got the equipment and stuff like that. We can do it without the equipment. We don't need to have really posh equipment to do cheese making. I know they show that on a lot of the videos and in a lot of the blogs. You have to have this, that, something else. But I've never had that equipment. And I've still come out with some pretty damn good cheeses. So to me, and this is what this channel is all about, is doing all of the things without having to ruin yourself, or your pocket to be able to do those things. So yeah, that would be cool. I mean, like, I would love to start a kombucha. I'm not gonna lie there. That is something that I would very much like to start. It's not something that I've had a go at yet. It's something that I had a go at in New Zealand when I was in my 20s. A friend of mine had one. Her mother had this big bowl, this size bowl. It's like an old trifle bowl, the ones that she had her kombucha in. There is a link to a place here in the UK. Which is where I want to get mine from. Oh, where's it gone? Shoppy. There is somewhere else I can get it from. Where is it? No, I know where this thing is. I know what the name of this website is. I've got to find it. No. Let me think. Okay. Is it this one? Oh no, yeah, it's this one. It's this shop here. Now, if you want to, this place has a load of stuff, okay? But don't get yourself overly, overwhelmed. But this is where I would be getting my kombucha starter from, because I believe, if I'm right, they have quite a few different ones. Yeah. That come in with different teas and things. So, because apparently if you start a kombucha with one type of tea, you need to keep it in that type of tea. Otherwise, you run the risk of killing it because they're not used to having that kind of tea. It's kind of like taking a goldfish and chucking it in the ocean. It's not going to thank you for it. It's probably going to die. Or putting a shark in your backyard pond. It's just, they don't, salt water, fresh water, it's not going to work. Same principle with scobies is that if you've got one that you've brought up in a green tea, you can't stick it in a black tea or its babies in a black tea, because it won't work so well. So, but that will be something that we look at further down the line again. Maybe in January, if I can talk Tanny into getting me a SCOBY for my birthday. If I can talk him into getting me a SCOBY for my birthday. Anyway. So yeah, that's I mean, like, I'm not sponsored by these guys at all in any way, shape, or form. But you know, they're there and they're a useful resource to have if you're in the UK. Obviously there are other places. If you're in different countries, all you have to do is look up fermented foods and stuff like that. So yeah. Anywho, I'm going to call it here. You guys have the ingredients that you need for next week's live, and that will be straight away in the kitchen. And we'll be doing the nut cheeses and the fermented beetroot. And yeah, and I hope to see you then, because that's going to be really, really good fun. I hope you guys have a really, really good rest of your day. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Go and check out the other channels that are in chat. If you don't recognize them, please do go and check them out. That would be really, really cool. And I will see you in the next few days. My next live is definitely Monday morning, because that's when I do my cook along. I have cooking to do on Monday morning, so I can bring you along for that. And also on Monday afternoon, I do a live for my gardening stuff. So I do put videos out in between, but I will be here live on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Yeah. Anywho, I will see you guys later. Have a really, really good day. Rest of your day. Love you guys heaps. Blessings.